Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Yeah, why not? It's indeed a Saturday edition of On Cue. We had to crunch in a little power hour on this Saturday, the 29th of November, 2025. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. You can capture us on X and IG at Rich Q on Q, Coastal Sports Digital Network, Rumble, and of course, right here on my YouTube channel at Rich Q on Q. Don't forget to get social with me at Rich Q on IG, on X, and TikTok, Rich Q and a Mike. We are powered by our wonderful friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Don't forget 20% off your first purchase. Use the promo code BYP20 on this Saturday edition. Yeah, listen, sometimes you got to just throw in the emergency show, the emergency power hour show, and dive right into it because, you know, what I saw yesterday in that Eagles and Chicago Bears game, if you are a Philadelphia Eagles fan, you have to be absolutely beside yourself, not only with the debacle that was yesterday's Black Friday game at home, a defensive no-show. The Philadelphia Eagles absolutely rolled over like a bunch of dogs yesterday in a 24-15 loss against the Chicago Bears, who are still friggin' running through Lincoln Financial Field, up and down Broad, up and down Patterson, all over the place in South Philly yesterday, to the tune of 281 yards. And I know there's so many layers to unpack with this loss by the Philadelphia Eagles. And let me just start by saying this. A couple weeks ago, I would say probably about a month plus ago, I mentioned during On Cue that this offense was anemic, it was inept, and they were in trouble. And all I heard were people saying they'll figure it out. They're too good of a team. They're too talented of a team. Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts, the offensive line, they're too good. And you just started to see that the pressure now was building on the offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, a guy that Nick Sirianni brought in, didn't even go outside the building. Jalen Hurts, you look at his numbers on the surface and say, man, he's a top 10 quarterback, but he's not really elevating his team. I'll get into that in a moment. And then you got a banged up offensive line and a running back who's not the same player, period. Plus a head coach that has zero feel for the game. And yesterday, defensively, if you want to start with the obvious, let's start with defensively. They had no answers for the Bears ground game. Bears averaged 6 yards a carry, 281. Monange, Swift, they were going nuts yesterday. They were going absolutely nuts yesterday, running the football, both with over 100 yards respectively. That's one of the big stories. Then you turn around and then you talk about what transpired with the lack of, the feel for the game of Nick Sirianni. And everyone's talking about going for two, not going for two. And I got to be quite honest with you. With all due respect to some of these former players coming out of the woodwork, talking about, you have to go for two, you have to go for two. The analytics suggest you have to go for two, you have to go for two. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I'm telling you right now, with all due respect to Greg Olson talking about you got to go for two in the analytics, Philadelphia was losing this game 24-9. They scored a late touchdown to make it 24-15. Now, they're put in that precarious position because earlier in the game, Jake Elliott missed a field goal. Think about the ebb and flow in this game. The Bears are up 7-0 after one quarter. They're up 10-3 at the half, and they should have been up 17-3. Then, heading into the fourth, that game should have been 10-10. Again, if we're talking about what the Bears should or shouldn't have done. But the reality was, Eagles score, Elliott misses the extra point, it's 10-10. It does change the complexion of the game and how you're coaching. But here's the problem. You get that touchdown late to make it 24-15. You have to stretch the game out. You know, if you kick the field goal, if you kick the extra point, it's 24-16. You're guaranteed, at least if you get the ball back, to have a crack at it. And if you score a touchdown, wonderful. Then you can go for two and try to knot it up. If you go for the 2-point conversion and you fail, and you don't kick that extra point to make it an 8-point game, and you fail, you're shit out of luck. Because then all of a sudden, it's a 9-point deficit. Now you need how many possessions? Do the math. You need multiple possessions. And you weren't going to get that. And there's been so much arguing with this. So again, you kick an extra point, you make it an 8-point game, it's 24-16. You decide to go for two, you fail. Now it's a 9-point deficit. You got 3 minutes to go on the clock. And oh, by the way, you had all three timeouts remaining. And I understand, you got to get the 2-point conversion at some point, but sometimes analytics be damned. So you try to cut it to 7 or cut the lead to 8. You get the ball back if you think your defense is going to get a little juiced and jacked up and you're going to make a friggin' play, and then you try to score another touchdown because it's very hard to get an onside kick. And I thought Bill Barnwell said it perfectly. The Birds were losing 24-9. What did he say? Let me pull it up. Talking about the analytics and how it breaks down. And I'll pull up his tweet in a moment. And then you have Olsen, and this is what Olsen said. And I want to get to this in a moment because, man, sometimes these former players, they just want to throw the analytics at your face ad nauseum. And sometimes you also have to have a feel for the game. This is what he says. It's non-debatable. 2-point conversion. Philly trail by 15. It's a 2-score game with slightly less than 50% of time, 2-point success rate. It's a 3-score game, the remaining percentage of the time. You want to know as early as possible how many possessions you need. That's why you go for 2 down 9. It's not debatable. It is debatable. It is debatable. I'm sorry, he's wrong. You have to have a feel for the game. Knowing full well the way the Bears were running the friggin' football, what are the chances you were going to get if you miss it 2 more possessions? I mean, think about that. You really have to think about that. You have to put it in perspective. And quite frankly, I don't think that Olsen is. I really don't. He's looking at it from a former player with the analytics, this, that, and the other thing. And that's not how you have to look at it all the time. And it's not always accurate. It's not. It's not always accurate. I'm trying to stretch the game out. That's what I'm trying to do. I know in a game like that, there's no way I'm going to get multiple cracks, multiple possessions. I'm not. And again, like I said, it just, you listen to what Sirianni says afterwards. Nick Sirianni's wrong. You kick the extra point and you go down by 8. You go for 2, you trail by 7, it's successful. 9, if not. You went for 2, you didn't get it. And you're chasing. And the problem is you had to miss extra point, but you can save that for that second possession. Get the touchdown, kick the extra point, guarantee you're down by 8, make a stop, get the ball back, then score, then worry about the 2-point conversion. But now, because you missed, you have to have multiple possessions. And they weren't going to allow that to happen. The Bears weren't. You can check the notes. You can look at the analytics. You can look at the percentages. You can check the studies. Have a friggin' feel for the game, Nick Sirianni. This guy has no feel for the game. He just doesn't. He just doesn't. And you got timeouts left, 3 minutes. You got the 2-minute warning as well. You got to take all that in consideration. And again, man, I heard post-game talking about the win being a factor in the game and yesterday. What the hell are you talking about? The Bears ran for almost 300 yards. I heard Jaworski sitting there saying, we should have scored 35 on this team. Like, are you watching these games? I mean, that's embarrassing what was coming out of their mouth. It really was. Look, there's a possibility of going for 2, getting it, scoring another touchdown, going for 2 again with the possibility of bypassing overtime. Okay, fine. But like I said, the bigger issue, you talk about the execution. You have A.J. Brown, just caught another touchdown pass, his second of the game. You line him up wide right, single coverage. It's a no-brainer. Throw the fade to Brown. Let him go up and get it. So the execution was poor once again. And the decision was a poor one by Nick Sirianni. It's just the way I look at it. And you're not going to convince me otherwise. I'm not going to sit here again and tell you that, hey, look, it's not debatable. It's always up for debate. It's always up for debate. I just don't agree with the call. And the larger issue with the Philadelphia Eagles right now, period, is that you have zero play design. And you've got the nonsense, again, reverting back to what we saw a couple seasons ago. Look, he gets equity. He's got it in the bank. You win the Super Bowl last year. But really, is he a good head coach? No, he's not. He's got no sense of the game. And now, look, you want to talk offensively? Overall, Kevin Patullo, fine. You want to talk about lack of execution? That also falls on the receivers to make plays, and it certainly falls on the quarterback who had a horrible game yesterday. Jalen Hurts had a horrible game. Let's not sugarcoat it. 19 of 34, 230, 2 touchdowns. Oh, by the way, Brown bailed him out on one. He had the horrible, horrible pass to Barkley out of the flat. Horrible behind, pass to Smith that had to reach around, and then rolled out to his right and threw just an ill-advised pass that turned into an interception. Jalen Hurts was also a culprit in yesterday's loss. Like, let's not sugarcoat it. And you start to look at Jalen Hurts, and as much as I've been very, and let's not forget, too, the tush push. Funny, too, against the Giants, it's a blown call, right? You stop the momentum. Against the Bears, it's a fumble. Okay, fine. Maybe we solved this after this, debacle yesterday with the tush push and the fumble. It was just an overall horrible loss. And you talk about Jalen Hurts, I feel as though everything has to hit for Jalen Hurts to be that very good quarterback, right? Got to have the ground game, offensive line, got to have the receivers wide open. You need like 25 seconds, it seems like, to throw the friggin' football. He doesn't read defenses very well. He still is making poor decisions. They paid him a lot of money. Yeah, he had that great run last year. Yeah, you rode the legs of number 26, who I'm going to get into in a moment, who looks like he's absolutely shot and washed and cooked. Okay? Let's be honest on a Saturday. But Jalen Hurts, stats aside, has not been able to elevate his team. He hasn't been able to elevate his teammates. And you listen to the post game, and again, a question was asked to A.J. Brown, who had 2 touchdowns, wide receiver A.J. Brown yesterday for the Eagles, about the offensive scheme or players getting open. He said, yeah. And it's perplexing that the talent is there, but you can't ignore the issues. You lose to Dallas after blowing a 21-point lead, and you do nothing offensively, and then your defense doesn't show up at home in a big spot against the Bears. I mean, this offense is broken. I think this team is broken right now. I really do. I really do. In a game that you would not think, was as close. I mean, the Bears dominated that game. They should have been up at least 24-3 at the half. And Kevin Patullo, the OC, listen, everyone can just kind of throw the darts at him, the predictability, the calls, not setting up the players, not putting them in the right place. Hey, I get it. There's no creativity. And the fact that, once again, Nick Sirianni is backing this guy, and Nick Sirianni is basically saying, I'm not going to change anything, that shows me nothing's been learned here. Nothing's been learned here. Take over the play calling. Like, you can't stand by your offensive coordinator because he's your guy, he's your buddy, he's your friend after another loss. And you're talking about evaluating everything, but you're not going to change play callers. It makes no sense. You got one of the highest salaried offenses in the NFL. By the way, A.J. Brown's done with Jalen Hurts. He's done. Don't expect A.J. Brown to be on this team next year. You got Hurts, you got Barkley, you got Devontae Smith, and you can't do anything. You entered a game ranked 24th in yards per game with just over 300, in passing 193, 21st in rushing, which I'm going to get to in a moment. I'm going to get to Barkley in a moment. So they've got major issues. Saquon Barkley ended yesterday's game with 13 carries on 56 yards. It's the 9th time this season. You're talking about the reigning NFL Offensive Player of the Year has been held to under 60 yards or fewer. Now, you want to talk about the offensive line? You want to talk about Saquon not hitting the hole? He's averaging 3.7 yards per carry. He doesn't trust the line. I'm not going to suggest that he's not 100% healthy. I just think the wear and tear is taking a toll on Saquon Barkley. And the reality is this: Philadelphia turns around. They give him a 2-year deal worth right around $42 million contract extension in the offseason. Okay? That's not to be a good back. That's to be a great back. You're being paid top dollar. He is not getting it done. He's not. Did you empty the chamber last season with over 2,000 yards and all those carries? Maybe. Carrying the football 345 times. I heard people all week saying, oh, they're saving them. For what? I'm sorry. You have to now start to consider the alternative, and that's giving Tank Bisbee the football more. Bigsby, we're not going to sit here and say, well, he had that one carry and he's averaging 9 yards a tote. It's you have to change it up. You have to, because it's not working with Saquon Barkley. He looks like a shot fighter. He's got no confidence. He's not even hitting the hole. He's not seeing the hole, even if it's there, even if it closes up. He's trying to spin out of it. This is the same stuff, the bad habits he reverted back to when he was with the Giants. So Bigsby is averaging 9.1 yards per carry. And he's proven more elusive to Saquon Barkley. So get him involved, ego aside. And the reason yesterday was so disheartening, if you're an Eagles fan, you look around the NFC, it's not about the division. They should win the division with the cushion they have over the Dallas Cowboys, but you're talking about NFC and trying to get home field advantage through the playoffs. Isn't that what you want? You get the bye, you host a divisional round game, you win that playoff game, you host the NFC Championship. And right now, man, you lost to the Bears and you're looking up at the Rams. Now, defensively, they just did not show up. They didn't show up yesterday. And I listened to post game. They were talking about it's got to be a battle of wills. You got to want it more in the trenches. The Chicago Bears did anything they wanted to do. Anything they wanted to do yesterday. I mean, they ran it off tackle. They ran it to the left side, the right side. They ran it through the gap, through the trenches. You had guys trying to make tackles in the second line of defense. Guys are running downhill. They did anything they wanted to do, and there was several drives where you just kind of marvel at the dominance of that offensive line by the Chicago Bears. I mean, they absolutely mauled the Philadelphia Eagles. They mauled them. That first touchdown drive, they go 11 plays, 17-yard run, 5-yard run, 5-yard run, 23-yard run, 3-yard run, 8-yard run, 2-yard touchdown run. They basically said, we are going to punch you in the mouth, and the Eagles had absolutely no answer. And they could have punched it in earlier. After that, in the second quarter, they didn't make it 10-3. They punt it. Eagles punt it. You go into the half 10-3, and you feel pretty good about yourselves if you're the Philadelphia Eagles team, because in spite of that, the Bears are kicking your ass up and down the field. Exchange punts, and then you had the bad pick, but you still hold the Eagles. You still hold the Bears. They punt. Eagles get the ball back, and now it's a 10-9 game after they scored. Elliott misses the extra point, and then the Bears have the pick, right? The Bears have the pick, and you're like, game's over. Eagles are going to score, and that's going to be it. And then they fumble. And then what did the Bears do? They showed you the maturation process of a good team to a very good team on the road quickly. Fourth quarter, get the ball to start things off, and they go right down the field again. Again, 12 plays, 87 yards, 31 yards, 5 yards, 9 yards, 1 yard, 9 yards, 9 yards, 6 yards, 5 yards, 4 yards. They dominated. I mean, they basically ripped the soul and broke the will out of the Philadelphia Eagles yesterday. That's exactly what they did. They're legit. The Bears are legit. And the problem is they're a hungry team. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they got their rings, they got paid, they turned around, they did all the, we're making all the off-season appearances here and there, and then they got fat in the offseason, and they figured it was going to be very easy. Had a conversation with someone a couple weeks ago when the Eagles were sitting there. And I think the game, it was right after the Vikings, or they beat the Giants, and they were 6-2. I said, they're not a good football team. What are you talking about? They're 6-2. They're not a good football team. There's something off. Scored 10 points against the Packers. Scored 16 points against the Lions. Blew a 21-point lead to the Dallas Cowboys. Scored 15 points at home to the Chicago Bears, and defensively gave up almost 300 yards on the ground. So you want to sit there and tell me about their record? They're 8-4 defending Super Bowl champs. They're flawed. They're flawed. There's no rhythm or rhyme to what the Philadelphia Eagles are doing. None. And again, it's time. You got to sometimes take a serious look at things. And this head coach, yeah, I get it. You win the Super Bowl. Okay, fine. But I don't really think he's a very good head coach. JJ chimes in. Q, think about this. You maximize your chances to win by going for two first. Calling an 8-point game, one score game is false hope. 60% of 2 points fail when 100% converted 2 points. Jonathan chimes in. I do believe there's a psychology behind being down 2 scores with 3 minutes left versus down 1 score that can't be ignored. Jim turns around. Dumbest 2-point attempt in the history of the Eagles. 2-point attempts by the Eagles. Why you risk being down 9 if you don't get it, which is what happened, instead of getting within 8 with a PAT with 3 minutes left. Absolutely idiotic. Q, and join you on a Saturday, brother. Listen, I told you this. Personally, I understand the analytics. Ron chimes in. Q, enjoying the show as always. Excellent points on the offense. The defense was a no-show, but going back to the 2-point conversion, going for 2 when you're down 9 makes no sense. Eagles just proved it. If you kick the PAT, you have a 1-score game. If you missed a 2-point conversion, it is a 2-score game. What the hell are these broadcasters and announcers talking about? It's a dumb argument by Greg Olson. I'm sorry. I'm just there's really no other way to say it. It's a dumb argument. It is. I'm stretching the game out. I understand the way that the Bears are running the football. I might not get a possession back, let alone 2. So why am I risking it there if it fails? I mean, at least kick the extra point. And I know for a fact if I get the ball back and score, then I have an opportunity at 24-16 to tie the game up with a successful 2-point conversion. And again, it made no sense. And the other thing is this. At 24-15, if you kick it at 24-16, you knew the defense was going to come a little jacked. You knew they were going to play the run a little more, and they turned the Bears over on downs, and they got the ball back. So now, because they're down 2 possessions, they can't take a shot going for it on a long play on a third down. If you're on the 35 or 40, you don't convert, you got to attempt a long field goal to salvage it. And it was missed nonetheless. And then obviously it's an onside kick, and that's all she wrote because the Bears already burned some clock and the Eagles had to burn timeouts. So overall, you want a Monday morning quarterback it, that's fine. But it was the wrong decision by Sirianni. It's debatable, but I just don't agree with others are saying. That's all. Don't forget, get social with me on X and IG at Rich Q on Q, TikTok, Rich Q on a mic. Certainly like, comment, and subscribe. A lot of comments coming in as well on this Saturday, fast approaching 12 o'clock noon. The Hurts conversation, Saquon Barkley, he's just not the same back. He's not. He is not the same back he was last season. It's a fact, man. He's rushed for 684 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's averaging 3.7 yards a carry. That would match a career low. And as much as you guys want to defend him and say without him last year, they don't win the Super Bowl, that's all well and good. And there's accuracy in that. And there's validity in that statement. And I get it. He was a workhorse. Everything clicked for the line in Saquon last season. Everything did. Everything did. Saquon Barkley was a man among boys last season. He was. I mean, just to put it in perspective, Saquon Barkley, including the playoffs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games over 100 yards. He had 2 over 200. 1 came against the Rams in the playoffs. So you're talking 14 games. 14 games over 100 yards. Do you realize Saquon Barkley cracked 100 yards once a season, and that was against the Giants, whose run defense stinks? And that was 14 touches on a $150. 65 of those came on 1 touchdown run. 65 of those. So again, you take that away, he hasn't cracked 100 yards at all this season. 740 yards, 3.7. That's updated. 740, 3.7, 4 touchdowns. He's washed. He's washed. He's just not the same back. It's okay to admit it. It really is. All right, quick timeout. We'll come back. More comments coming in. Keep it locked in. Saturday edition of On Cue. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. 12 o'clock straight up on a Saturday edition of On Cue. A lot of comments coming in regarding my Hurts and my Saquon take. And like I said, this goes back. AB chimes in. Q, you mentioned this a month ago and got killed on the air talking about the enigma that is the inconsistency regarding their offensive line. You were right, brother. Let me see. Eagle 6 chimes in. Q, it's absolutely killing me to admit that you are dead on. Saquon looks absolutely washed. Jalen Hurts does not look like an elite quarterback. And Nick Sirianni, once again, proven he is just a cheerleader. Listen, it's bad. It is bad, right? It's bad. Broncos country, let's ride. Michael chimes in. Q, you called it weeks ago. Fly, Eagles fly. Could be in big time trouble. Yeah, they are. They are. He 12 man, Heisman, he hate me, new phones, who this, aka Duval, aka Steeler Nation, Vince. What's going on? Saturday Q. Had to. I had to. After that debacle yesterday, after the Chicago Bears decide to run for 300. And by the way, Vince, I'm glad you popped on because you're the one that told me a couple weeks ago, like a month plus ago, the Eagles offense looks fine to me. Eagles offense looks fine to me. And I said, and I'm trying to figure out what game exactly I said it, that this offense is broken. It might have been after the Vikings game, even though they ripped off a couple wins and they put up 38 against the Giants. You have to see how it's trending. 10 points against the Packers, 16 points against the Lions, blowing a 21-point lead against the Cowboys, and then scoring 15 points at home against the Bears. It's just not going to get it done. It's not. So this team has major issues right now. I don't know if even the ardent of Philadelphia Eagles fans can't see this, can't admit it, or maybe they just don't want to admit it. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe they don't want to admit right now that they think it's it's a lull. They're going to come at it. Do you understand during the course of an NFL season that you got to figure out a way during the course of an NFL season? You got to figure out a way to overcome the adversity. And now, finally, this team is dealing with adversity. And they have no idea how to handle it. They have no idea how to handle adversity. They don't. They thought everything was going to be easy for them. They really did. They felt everything was going to be easy. You just show up, you win the Super Bowl, you come back, and it's a rite of passage, and here we go. And now they're learning that they are no longer the hunters. They are the hunted. And again, a lot of times when you're dealing with that, you are going to get a team's best shot. Yeah, 4-0. And we were talking about a broken offense. Yes, you were right then and now. But my point was, is all that despite that still find ways to win? Yeah, but it's not going to help them come playoff time. And you're saying got to make it to the dance. Everyone has a chance. Any given Sunday is all. No, I'm telling you right now. There's something off with this team. And it's been like that for a while now. And the guys that are coming in killing me because I'm saying Saquon looks like he's washed, the numbers don't lie. It's time we start talking about number 26. And you got to wonder if he's hurting the offense because he's not helping it. And if I'm Sirianni, the fact that I'm not going to take over play calling and I'm going to stick with the offensive coordinator is friggin' practice. Give Tank more touches. Saquon looks washed. He looks washed. He's running with no confidence. Maybe he doesn't trust the offensive line. Maybe he's not 100% healthy. But right now, he's not helping this offense, and the quarterback's not helping the offense either. Making these boneheaded decisions, rolling to his right, trying to throw across his body or putting in double, triple coverage. An all-pro quarterback, an elite-level quarterback, a Super Bowl winning MVP quarterback, you don't make those plays. You don't do that. BD chimes in. Q, think about this. The Bears hire Ben Johnson, turn around in one friggin' year. They got rid of their head coach and kept the GM. We're sitting here with this clown Sirianni that's making the same mistakes even after winning a Super Bowl. Listen, no one is suggesting to fire the head coach. Okay? No one is. And again, I just, for the life of me, Kevin chimes in, Q, you are absolutely, unequivocally 100% correct. Analytics never friggin' factor momentum. You're the one that always talks about that. If you kick the extra point there, you extend the game, you give the defense some life. You got 3 friggin' minutes to go on the clock and 3 timeouts. Again, agree. It was a bad decision. That's why I've been saying it for years with Nick Sirianni. For years. I've been saying it about Sirianni. The guy has no feel for the game. A head coach has to have a feel for the game. Dan Campbell's arrogance and his aggressiveness at times just basically blows up in his face. You sit there and you love Dan Campbell. You love Dan Campbell when, the going for it on 4th and 7 from your own 25 works. But then the reality is eventually, you're going to get stopped. You're going to get stuffed. You're not going to convert. So I can argue and make the case for play calling, lack of execution. It could be, I go back to that Shanahan play or the Campbell play a couple years ago, Detroit against 49ers. 4th down, everyone killed him. Right call, bad decision to throw, right? The execution. Jared Goff, that's not the receiver at the time you want to get the ball to. So yesterday is a perfect example. You just scored a touchdown, okay? You just scored a touchdown, and you've got momentum, right? Momentum. It's very hard to get in the NFL, especially when you've been dominated like the Eagles were dominated. You've got momentum. A.J. Brown starting to feel it. Little juice, little energy. Second touchdown toss of the game, even though the quarterback bails him out. Whatever. Line them up. One-on-one. Go up and get it. Go up and get it. So it's just, you talk about the play design, you talk about the lack of execution, and we see it rampant in the NFL. We see it every week in the NFL. These coaches overthink. They think they're too cute, too smart for the room. Keep calling it like it is on Barkley. Truth hurts Eagles fans. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. They caught lightning in a bottle last season. Saquon Barkley played, he had a historic year. Historic. He's not that guy this season. He's not. And it's kind of like my argument with the Chiefs. It really is. It's my argument with the Chiefs. I don't know. Maybe you guys get sucked into the fact that, maybe it's sentiment. They're still Kansas City. They're still the Eagles. They go to AFC championships games. They go to NFC. You got to peel back the curtain a little bit and look in the mirror. And sometimes you don't like what's looking back at you. And right now, Kansas City's a broken team. And you guys crushed me during the season when I said Denver was going to win the AFC West. You crushed me after a couple weeks where I turned around and said Kansas City's cooked. You crushed me when I basically said they might not even make the friggin' playoffs. You can't live in this past. What have you done for me lately? Yeah, I get it. Well, they're still Kansas City. They still have a puncher's chance. That might be the case. But when push comes to shove in seasons like this, they will fail. And they have. And right now, the Eagles are trending in that direction. They are trending in that direction. And like I said, you can talk about the analytics. You can talk about the lack of execution. You can talk about the vanilla play calling. You can talk about the players getting fat over the season and the offseason after winning it. But the head coach has to have a hand in this. He's got to basically tell this play caller, buddy or not, I'm sorry, you're not calling the plays anymore. You're just not. And the head coach has zero feel for the game. And the quarterback's not playing at an elite level. And the wide receiver looks like he's got 1 foot out the door, even though he got his touches and he got, quote, his yesterday. They don't utilize the tight end. The offensive line is just absolutely, they can't pass protect. They can't run block. And Saquon looks cooked. It is a bad mix. And I'm not saying they're going to fire Nick Sirianni, but they did fire Doug Peterson. And in the NFL, it's what have you done for me lately? That's all I am saying. Imagine last season if they don't win the Super Bowl, if they don't make that deep run, if they don't have Saquon bailing out Jalen Hurts, if they don't have Saquon running for 2,000 yards, if they don't have Saquon running for 100 yards 14 times during the season and 200 yards in a divisional round in the snow against the Rams and breaking one off to start the game against Washington NFC Championship game. They're not winning that Super Bowl. That was the offensive line and the legs of Barkley. Yes, I'll give Hurts credit where credit is due. He played exceptional football in the Super Bowl. He outperformed Patrick Mahomes. He deserved to be the MVP. But it is, what have you done for me lately? And everyone wants to look at Jalen Hurts' numbers and stats. And I've been the biggest at times to pro Jalen Hurts and sit there and say, well, here's a guy that's, 19 touchdowns and 2 picks, and he's added another 5 rushing touchdowns. Hey, stats are for losers at the end of the day. Can you elevate these guys? Can you elevate them when you need to elevate them? And at times, I don't think he can. He's a good quarterback. At times, he can be a great quarterback, but he's not an overall consistently great quarterback. He's not. He didn't play well yesterday. I mean, my God, I got Tom saying I'm ripping him. He played okay. Yes, he didn't play well yesterday. What the hell game did you watch? In what world yesterday did Jalen Hurts play well? He didn't. He made boneheaded decisions. He wasn't on the same page on the flat with Barkley, missed Goddard, overthrew Smith, and got bailed out and threw behind Smith on the third down play, which should have been an easy first down. And he got bailed out by A.J. Brown, jump ball. Guys, man, I'm telling you, it's the NFL is very tricky. That's why when you got an opportunity to get there, you better damn well take advantage of it. And the way the NFC is shaken out right now, don't tell me the Bears are not a legit team. I said this 2 weeks ago. They are sneaky good. And now they've got confidence. If they have to go back on the road, they can run the football against the Philadelphia Eagles. In the playoffs, what do you need to do? Run the football, get to the quarterback. They can do that. The Rams can do that. Seattle can do that. It's not full-blown panic if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan. It's not full-blown, I got to run out of the building because it's engulfed in flames. But right now, there's smoke. There's some flames. You're getting ready to put your hand on the knob. And if it's warm, you better get the hell out of there. Because I'm telling you, the implosion is coming. And you can sit there and say, well, they're defending Super Bowl champ. They will figure it out. Show me proof of that. Seriously. Show me proof of that. You think that's going to be an easy game against the Chargers on the road? Yeah, they should beat the Raiders. They should beat the Commanders. Buffalo is going to be fighting for a playoff spot. You got to go on the road in Buffalo in late December. And then you got the Commanders who maybe decide, we're going to throw the kitchen sink. We're out of it. Let's upset the apple cart. They should win the division. They should. But I don't look at this team right now and say they are a legit threat to come out of the NFC. They're not playing like it. They're just not. The Cowboys' loss was a bad loss. Yesterday, I don't want to take anything away from the Bears, but defensively, you cannot allow a team to run for over 283 yards, for close to 300 yards. I think the stat was that's the first time since 73 they allowed that many rushing yards. What do they pride themselves on? Defense, getting to the quarterback, stopping the run. And yesterday, it was bad. That's as bad as a loss as I can remember. And that's saying that, that's looking, you saw what the Dallas Cowboys did. Dallas Cowboys showed you a little moxie against Kansas City. They showed you a little moxie. They got a little juice right now. And I'm not going to suggest that the Dallas Cowboys are winning the division. I'm not. The Dallas Cowboys are 6-5-1. If they get through the Lions, they can beat the Vikings. They got the Chargers, the Commanders, the Giants. Let's just say, for argument's sake, they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They go 4-1. Get you to 10. 10, 6-1, 10 wins. I mean, that, what hurts the Cowboys, what kind of cripples the Cowboys, bad loss to the Cardinals, bad loss to the Panthers after we saw the Panthers basically just implode against the 49ers. So 10-5-1, let's just hold it right there for the Dallas Cowboys. 10-5-1 The Eagles are sitting at 8-4, which basically means the Eagles just have to win three more games. I mean, hell, if they turn around and beat the Chargers and the Raiders and the Commanders, obviously that gets them to 11. If the Eagles finish with 10 wins, you go percentage points, right? So 10-6, and then you got 10. I'm sorry, 3 wins, 11-6, and then you got 10-5 or 10-6 and one with the percentage point. But it's all about home field advantage. That's my concern right now. If you're an Eagles fan, that's my concern because the Rams are 9-2, the Bears are 9-3, and they just beat the Eagles. And if you look at conference records right now, obviously the Rams lost to the Eagles, but the Bears are 6-2 conference wise and had that head to head against the Eagles. So you want home field advantage, and yesterday was an opportunity to have it, and they didn't. Can you believe there's a chance for the Chiefs, Bills, and Lions could not make the playoffs? There's a chance. Go Broncos. There is a big time chance. That NFC North is congested. It really is. And to your point right now, I think the Lions might be on the outside looking in. I really do. And I'm going to tell you why. The Lions have the Cowboys and the Rams, and the Steelers are going to be fighting for a playoff spot. And the Lions, because of their aggressive nature, I think it's come home and it's bit them in the ass. They were no-showed against Kansas City. They couldn't stop Green Bay. Their secondary you can throw against them. And you also got to start to look at this head coach. Very good head coach, changed the culture, not going anywhere, but sometimes he's a little too aggressive. Then you look at Kansas City, and I mentioned this 2 weeks ago. 6-6. Show of hands who thought the Kansas City Chiefs were going to be 6-6 after 12 games. They were 0-2. I told you, be careful. They were 2-3. I said, be careful. Even when they lost to the Bills, I was like, they might be done. They lost to the Broncos. They listen, the Colts had them against the ropes. And then we saw what happened against the Dallas Cowboys. They have a very big game coming up against the Texans because the Texans are trying to keep pace, obviously, in the AFC South. The Chargers game is a huge game because it's got AFC West implications. And after that, they got the Titans. That's a winnable game. But then they have the Denver Broncos. I mean, this is it for the Kansas City Chiefs. They have backed themselves in a corner where they're going to have to run the table. And it still might not be good enough. I mean, right now, they're the 9th seed. Yeah, it's a possibility. The Bills, I think the Bills, if you look at their schedule, Steelers, Cincy, Patriots is a tricky spot, the Browns and the Jets. If they go 4-2, that gets them to 11 wins. That should be enough. Do you have more confidence in the Lions or Chiefs making the playoffs? Wow, that's a great question. That is a great question. Oh, man. I think what you're seeing with Kansas City right now, so if you go back in the beginning of the year, after they lost to the Eagles, they were 0-2. And they won 2 straight. And I think the argument was you can't allow your running back to be your leading rusher. So the thought was Pacheco was going to have this, revenge season coming off the injury. Hunt was going to be okay. They have not been able to run the football. And that scares me a little bit. And the Texans have a good run defense. You got to get 7 against the Chargers. The Titans, they're a bad football team. You just never know. Denver has one of the best run defenses in the NFL, let alone one of the best defenses overall. I think they're going to get to Mahomes. I just think right now they have zero margin of error. They really do. And they're just not a good football team. They're not. It's almost like the argument with the Eagles. All the talent, you would think they were a better football team than this. But Patrick Mahomes, he'll make his great play, but sometimes you're like, what are you doing? Or he takes a bad sack. Kareem Hunt is averaging right around 4 carry. They've got nothing from Isaiah Pacheco. He's been banged up all season. Their whole offense, let's be honest, if you really watch them, their whole offense is going through who right now? It's going through Rice ever since he's come back. more targets, as we talked about. So they have zero, another loss, and that's pretty much it. Detroit has a little wiggle room. Detroit has a little wiggle room. They're 7-5. Now, if you lose to the Cowboys, now you're in trouble. If you lose to the Rams in 7-7, 10-7, you know, also not going to get it done. But I'm looking at their schedule. I think they bounce back. The Lions do. But to your point, are you going to get three teams coming out of the NFC North? I mean, is that a possibility? If we break it down like this, let's just say the Eagles win the East. The Bears and Green Bay 1-2 in the North. That's three teams. NFC South, you have Tampa. That's five. NFC West, you've got the Rams, Seattle, and the 49ers. Well, I mean, the math doesn't jive. So you got three teams coming out of the West, one team coming out of the South, two teams coming out of the North, one team coming out of the East. It's a numbers game right now, is it not? San Francisco will get to 10 wins. Seattle will get to 10 wins. The Rams will get to 12, 13 wins. Now it's just a numbers game. So you got the Rams, the Bears, the Eagles, Tampa, Seattle, Green Bay, the 49ers right now, that's seventh seed. The Lions are on the outside looking in. I mean, listen, they planned it. You know, you think about the NFL, this is what you want, right? This is what you want. Q on another topic with the weather, what it is in Cleveland. I feel like it sets up for Sanders to start 2-0. Put the Browns in the AFC North conversation besides Burrow and the Bengals. Crazy. Oh, that is a dicey game you are playing. That is a dicey game. The Cleveland right now is what are they, 3-8? Oh, I don't see them beating the 49ers. I don't. I don't. And you might get a win against the Titans. You're not beating the Bears and the Bills. You're not. They're going to win 4 or 5 games. And I get it. You're looking around. You're seeing what Cincinnati did the other night against Baltimore. The AFC North is a bad division. It is a bad division. But right now, if I had to throw a dart at the division, I would say just because scheduling wise, I like Baltimore. You know, it's a bad loss. It's kind of an aberration. You turn the football over 5 times. You're not expected to win. I believe Baltimore beats the Steelers next week. Then they got Cincinnati. That might be for the division. The Pats, you know, again, the Patriots might have an opportunity to close out the AFC East. Then they have the Packers and the Steelers. I believe they get 3 wins, maybe 4 if Green Bay has it wrapped up by week 16, maybe. But I would say 4 wins, 10 wins get you in. And then you got to look at divisional, right? You got to look at how it plays out from the division. They already beat Cleveland twice. They've got the Steelers twice and Cincinnati. If they win their division games and get to 10, they're going to win the division. So if you said, you know, pick a team, I would say Baltimore. I just think the Steelers are done. I really do. We haven't even spoken about Aaron Rodgers. I look at this team. I'm not impressed. And I'll say this, be very careful now. Be really careful because you've got a matchup tomorrow. To Michael's point regarding Buffalo, you've got teams now, the way it's shaken out, these are potentially playoff games. The Rams play the Panthers. The Panthers are fighting for their playoff lives. This is a playoff game. Seattle can basically put the fork in the Vikings. The Bills can do some damage to the Steelers. The Raiders can do some damage to the Chargers. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say Washington in my Super Bowl preview, Washington and Denver, Commanders are going to trip the Broncos. I don't see that happening. But these are all games where if you want to put yourself in position to secure that playoff spot and breathe, you got to win these games. Like Denver wins this game, you know, that's a 10-win season for the Denver Broncos. That's a hell of a job, even though their offense has been so non-existent this year, where they've got the Raiders, Jacksonville, Kansas City, the Chargers. Nothing's wrapped up just yet, but 10, 11 wins, that should be enough. You got the Chargers right there. They can't slip up. You know, Denver might have an opportunity to play for the AFC West title in week 16, 17 on the road against Kansas City, back home against the Chargers. And if Kansas City's out of it, you know for a fact they're going to try to spoil that for the Denver Broncos. So nothing's set in stone for any of these teams. None of it is. These are not gimme games. I mean, the schedule broke out perfectly. It really did. We got a competitive game between Green Bay and the Lions. We got a competitive game against Kansas City and the Cowboys. We got a competitive game yesterday, the Bears and the Eagles. Okay, Cincinnati and the Rams, or Cincinnati and the Ravens, not so much. But it's shaking out where meaningful football down the road from a schedule standpoint. And you're seeing some teams trending in the right direction. The Chicago Bears, New England, trending in the right direction. Kansas City, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're trending in the wrong direction. And again, this is, you don't really need to be a NFL savant or a guru to figure this out. If you can't stop the run, if you can't get to the quarterback, you're not winning many football games. You're not winning many football games. I mean, Vic Fangio, his defense got exposed yesterday. The defense got exposed. 281 yards is unacceptable. That was the most rushing yards against a Vic Fangio defense since 2005. I mean, guys were getting beat. That's the thing. When you talk about second gear, second level, and, you have to look, coaching is everything in the NFL. Coaching is NFL. It's everything. And when you've got, you're chipping a tight end and you can't block the defensive end one-on-one, if you can't pick it up, if you don't know what the hell you're doing, get off the friggin' field. And that's why I don't want to hear anymore of Nick Sirianni saying we're going to take a look at Nick Sirianni. What Sirianni is right now, he's delusional. Nick Sirianni is delusional. This is what Nick Sirianni is doing. And it's as though we've all kind of been there in our lives once or twice. And the perfect analogy that I can give you is that, let's say you're working multiple jobs, you're trying to make ends meet, you're trying to pay rent, you're trying to keep the electricity on, you're trying to put food in your stomach in the refrigerator, and the bills are starting to pile up. And then your buddy turns around and says, hey man, you got to attack this head on. So what do? You get a cup of coffee, you sit down at the table, you get the calculator out, you get the notepad, and you throw all the bills on the table. But some people decide, I'm going to attack it head on. We're going to open up, we're going to organize, we're going to make some cuts, we're going to trim the fat, we're going to take care of our debt, we're going to lower the interest, we're going to consolidate, we're going to get rid of the high interest cards first and foremost. And they attack it head on. Other people sit and they stare at the bills piling up, and they just kind of consistently take a couple sips of their coffee, and then they walk away and they say, it's going to work itself out. That's exactly what Nick Sirianni's doing right now. It's exactly what Nick Sirianni's doing right now. All the bills are mounting up, and Sirianni's like, it'll work itself out. We'll be fine. No problem. It always works out in the end. That's what he's doing. He's delusional. Strip the offensive coordinator of his play calling. Give Bigsby the football more. Hold your quarterback accountable. Get on your defensive coordinator's ass. Get on your players. And for the love of God, have a friggin' feel for the game. I mean, that's not a bad wish list with the holidays right around the corner if you're an Eagles fan. But they better figure it out. They better figure it out, because there was a lot of talk in the offseason, team to beat in the NFC, team to beat in the NFL, defending Super Bowl champs, Eagles. They're going to run roughshod through the conference. And here you go. They're 8-4 on the surface after 12. That's a solid record. I think a lot of teams will take that record, but they're beyond flawed. They are beyond flawed. And if they go out on the road, West Coast, and score 10 points and losing against the Chargers, I'm telling you right now, the shit's going to hit the fan. We talked a little bit about panic mode. We talked a little bit about I smell a little smoke. I got to put my hand on the knob. If it's hot, if it's warm, I got to call, the fire department. Now you're starting to see flames. You got to get the hell out of there because it's about to hit the fan. It really is. It really is. And the problem is this man just does not want to change. He does not want to take it head on. All right, fast approaching the 12:30 hour, 16 of books on a little Saturday afternoon of On Cue. Appreciate you guys keeping us locked in on a Saturday. How about this? Back in the saddle tomorrow to preview some of the NFL games on a Sunday. New edition of BYP dropped over the weekend between myself and Lloyd Vance. You can check that out on TV 48 WWON in New York. We're also powered by our good friends over at Three Brooks Bourbon. Get ready with tea, fresh roasted coffee, 20% off your first purchase, and Played Against Sports. They still got the Black Friday sales going on right now as we speak. The Doorbusters. Check them out, 1450 Clements Ridge Road in Deptford. And the second location in Mount Laurel. Yes, we will be back on the air manana on a Sunday for a Sunday edition of On Cue because it's getting a little dicey in the NFL. So we want to give you a little more content, a little more entertainment, a little more insight. As always, do not forget, keep us locked in as well on the YouTube channel at Rich Q on Q. You can follow me, very easy to do, on social media, on X and IG at Rich Q on Q, TikTok Rich Q on the mic. And as I mentioned, appreciate special thanks to all the sponsors keeping us live on the air, on the YouTube channel, on Rumble, on X, and other multiple platforms. Back in the saddle manana. Appreciate the comments as well. You guys have a good sports Saturday. Enjoy college football, a little NBA. Tomorrow, NFL heavy. Probably right around 11:30 noon as well. We'll fire it off. Look forward to connecting with you guys. As always, have a good sports Saturday. Be safe, be sound. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of On Cue. Hasta luego, mi día.